So, a movie review in 1958. This is Mon Oncle. It's directed and written by Jacques Tati. Uh, Screenwriters Jean Laurent, Jacques Larange, and the cast is Jacques Tati in the lead role of Mr. Hulot. Mr. Hulot is a character, a very eccentric character that Tati created back in 1953. And in Mr. Hulot's holiday, he managed to put together a batch of films, six in all. Many of them recall this character, and he's a the character is very recognizable for his umbrella, dressed in a trench coat, and he's often got a fedora hat and a distinctive pipe pressed against his lips. And basically, this film is a movie that reflects Tati's love for silent film cinema. There's a obvious nods to Charlie Chaplin in terms of how Hulot is pictured and his mannerisms and his actions. And there's also, I saw quite a lot of Stan Laurel in the character, in as much that he does things that have major implications for others around him. They appear to be quite simple tasks that tend to end up in chaos with disasters around the corner. His actions are that of someone who doesn't think about what he's doing and doesn't think about consequences. And this provokes a lot of very comical situations. And it's a a very funny movie in places. I'm not the greatest fan of comedy, but I must admit a lot of this movie got me chuckling to myself. We open with the credits being seen on a building site board, and behind this board we see a building site in action, and shortly after we see a collection of stray dogs feeding on scraps on the streets, and a rag and bone man with horse and cart, which excites the dogs. We then end up at the brother-in-law, Zola, Jean-Pierre Zola, plays Charles Apple, Tati's brother-in-law, Hulot's brother-in-law. He's married to to Hulot's sister, who's played by Adrienne Servant. And there's a neighbour played by Dominique Marie, and a colleague of Charles at his business. He runs a hose making factory, and one of his colleagues, Mr. Picard, played by Lucien Fregley, is in the supporting cast. Anyway, we arrive at Apple's house. It's a very futuristic designed house, with lots of very odd sort of idiosyncrasies visual. There's a dolphin statue which is in fact a fountain, which is controlled by a switch inside the house, and the sister tends to turn this on when a visitor appears outside the gate, and then turns it off when the family are just present. It's all very much to try and impress the neighbours. The boy is collected by Hulot, who's living with them at the time, and he's given that responsibility, and as a result the boy Gerard has a very warm relationship with Hulot, more so than with his own father. And we witness an early incident that causes havoc with the parking of cars near where the boy is collected from school, which is extremely amusing. We also see the nearby greengrocer market where Hulot passes on a daily basis. There's another scene involving an unscrupulous marketeer trying to raise the price on his fruit, which Hulot points out is because the weighing scales are deliberately faulty, which is quite amusing. And anyway, throughout this movie, we come across a catalogue of scenes that are basically very comical, and the dialogue is minimal. It could pass almost as a silent movie, and Hulot is in the centre of this, and it's a series of disasters and for him, and consequences for the people around him. Actions speak louder than words. That's my motto on this movie. There's no real plot as such, although as the movie presses on, the brother-in-law becomes more and more exasperated with Hulot, and eventually insists that he's got to get out, and has given him an opportunity in the provinces as they're described. And so at the end of the movie, we witness Hulot heading for the train station. And I would recommend you give it a look. It won an Oscar, of course. I was pleasantly surprised with it, although I've seen better comedies, but basically outside the silent era, they usually have far more dialogue in them, such as the Woody Allen. That's my movie review on Mon Oncle, released in 1958.